been said that a podcaster is basically just a person who talks to himself. Long pauses, thoughtful nodding, occasionally chuckling at some of his own observations. But here's the key difference, and that's the fact that you are listening. Because honestly, if it weren't for you, this might sound less like a podcast and more like a medical situation.
He's doing it again. No, I'm serious. He's being weird, asking questions and then answering them. Do I need to call someone?
See what I mean? Yeah, you are the one that makes this a podcast and not a wellness check.
I mean it. I'm really worried about him.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for allowing me to try and figure out things like, why do we do that? Who thought that was a good idea? And how did this become normal?
Okay, I'll keep an eye on him for now, I guess.
So welcome to the podcast that answers some of the questions you've always wondered about.
It's the Always Wondered podcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Peterson. Thanks for joining us. Okay, picture this. Late at night, you're walking down a hallway. It's dark and quiet, too quiet. And suddenly, now your heart is racing, your palms are sweaty, and your arms look like they're auditioning to be corn on the cob. Yep, we're talking goosebumps. So have you always wondered why we get goosebumps when we're frightened? Some people call them goose pimples or goose flesh. The technical term is piloerection.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what it is. But the fact is, these strange little bumps have been showing up for thousands of years. And they made a lot more sense before safety razors, before body waxing, before laser treatments, when our ancestors were frankly furrier.
Ew.
Yeah, well, we were. And when faced with something terrifying, like when we were about to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, our ancient brains hit the panic button and shouted,
"Everybody stand up!"
So goosebumps made all that hair stand on end, making you look bigger, puffier, and slightly less snack-sized to predators. And upon seeing that, perhaps that hungry tiger might think,
He looks like a pro wrestler. Maybe I'll try the buffet in the next village instead.
It's sort of like when Bruce Banner gets all mad and hulks up, but at least we don't have Bruce's problem.
I'm gonna need bigger pants.
Of course, today we're not as hairy. However, through the years, evolution kept the feature but removed the usefulness, much like the appendix, or wisdom teeth, or the fax machine. So the next time you get startled during a horror movie, or a creepy podcast,
Always wondered.
and your arms suddenly look like a plucked turkey, it's not unusual. It's just your body screaming,
Act tough!
while your skin is saying,
Sorry, the best we can do is tiny speed bumps.
It's the Always Wondered podcast.
Oxymorons are words that just weren't meant to go together, but sometimes do. Things like jumbo shrimp, plastic silverware, and one of our favorites, military intelligence. So that leads us to our question. Have you always wondered what was the strangest plan ever devised by the military? Well, hold on to your tinfoil hats, because for this one we are heading back to 1958. 1 year earlier, the Soviet Union launched the Sputnik satellite. The US and Soviets were now locked in a cosmic battle of one-upsmanship. The Air Force needed a bold statement. And somewhere deep inside a smoke-filled room in the Pentagon, someone said,
Gentlemen, I know. Let's blow up the moon.
yeah, the celestial body that controls our tides, stabilizes our axis tilt, and is written about in romantic poetry and music. That moon.
Wait, what?
Believe it or not, it was a real idea. Project A-119. The plan was to detonate a nuclear weapon on the moon so the explosion would be visible from Earth.
We'll have those Ruskies quaking in their boots.
But sir, what will the people think?
It'll prove we can not only reach the moon, but we're not afraid to nuke it.
Of course, the scientists were skeptical.
You know the song, "When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie"? It'll be like that. But the pizza will be highly radioactive.
And you've seen the newsreel footage of those early launch attempts, right? You know, the ones where the rockets spectacularly blow up on the pad? Now picture that, only with a nuclear warhead strapped to the top.
Houston, we have a problem.
But in the end, cooler heads prevailed, and thankfully the idea was scrapped. So the next time you look up at the night sky, and see the moon shining brightly? Just remember, there was once a moment when the plan was less
one small step for man,
and more
one giant mushroom cloud for mankind to see.
The Always Wondered Podcast.
When I was a kid back in school, the words I most dreaded hearing from the teacher were... Translated, that was...
Clear your desks, it's pop quiz time.
Yeah, I was never prepared. Panic would ensue. But sometimes, as the papers were passed out, I'd be given a faint glimmer of hope in the form of a true-false exam. And suddenly my odds of passing went from next to nothing to 50-50, which still isn't great, but when you're a desperate grade schooler, hey, I'll take those odds. So in that spirit, we proudly present a brand new feature, one we like to call... Yeah, translated, that's...
The Always Wondered Pop Quiz.
So here's how it works. We'll pose several questions, things you've always wondered about, and give you the answer. Then your job is to determine if that answer is true or false. Simple enough. All right, here we go. Question 1. Have you always wondered, why do we seem to do our best thinking in the shower? Answer, the repetitive nature of the running water affects our brains. True or false? That's absolutely true. Feeling that constant stream of water shifts our brains from focused thinking to creative thinking. Not only that, it can result in a shot of dopamine, which further encourages novel ideas. Unfortunately, it doesn't really help with our singing. Okay, next question. Have you always wondered, how short was Napoleon? Answer, pretty short, barely 5 feet tall. True or false? That is false. Napoleon was actually about 5'6", an average or even slightly above average height for a Frenchman 200 years ago. So why the short reputation? The British depicted him to be small as a form of propaganda.
We were doing fake news before anyone had even heard of fake news.
All right, another question. Have you always wondered how many miles the average person walks in a lifetime? Answer, around 100,000 miles. True or false? Yeah, that's true. Now, everyone's a bit different, but 80,000 to 120,000 miles is a good range. In perspective, that would be enough to walk around the world 3 or 4 times.
No offense, but after the first lap, I'm hitching.
And our final question, it's one we actually discussed in a previous episode. So let's see if you were paying attention. Have you always wondered, when did the peanut butter and jelly sandwich become a thing? Answer, it gained popularity during the Civil War. True or false? That's false. It was actually during World War II. Peanut butter, jelly, and bread were easily supplied rations. Soldiers combined them to create the PB&J sandwich. And after the war, they came home but still craved that sweet and nutty flavor.
It was the taste of Allied victory.
Okay, pencils down. So how'd you do? Well, the good news is you'll be graded on this pop quiz the same way my elementary teacher graded me. Very, very generously. So, the only thing left to say now is... And translated, that's...
Class dismissed.
Yeah, thought you'd like that.
The Always Wondered Podcast.
Well, it is time to put a fork in this episode.
Oh, gee. I bet you were speaking figuratively there, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Remember, new episodes come out every Friday. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It truly helps us out. And look for us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We've got some fun, weird stuff up there for you. Links can be found at facebook.com/alwayswondered. All right. As always, we leave you with one to ponder. Have you always wondered, if a blueberry is a berry, why is a strawberry a fruit? Good question. Until next time, stay curious and keep wondering. I'm Rick Peterson. Thanks for listening.
The Always Wondered Podcast.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and a review. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to offer suggestions for future topics or simply reach out to alwayswonderedpodcast@gmail.com.